In a school, a student, Akira Takebana, sleeps at her desk. Another classmate wakes her up and teases her for sleeping throughout the entire lecture. He starts talking to her, but she gets up and takes off running. He calls after her, but she's gone. She runs at top speed, skidding over a slope, and continues running like a track athlete until suddenly her leg cramps, and she stumbles and falls. She wakes up with a jerk to realize it is all a dream. The guy from her dream, Yashizawa, starts talking to her, but she ignores him. Later that day, she arrives at the garden restaurant, where she and Yashizawa work as part-timers. She meets her fellow worker, Mizui. As Akira goes about doing her job, she serves a table of 3 boys, places their order in front of one, and bows her thanks. They feel uncomfortable with her forthright manner, and as she leaves, they discuss how it felt like she was glaring at them. Back in the kitchen, Kubo, another server, remarks on how pathetic their manager looks as he asks for forgiveness from a customer. All 3, Yui, Akira, and Kubo, turn around and look at him. Kubo continues sharing details about his life, like how he is already 45 and a divorcee, and has a son. She says she feels pity for him. Yui and Akira look at him with sympathy as he moves to apologize to yet another customer. A bit later in the day, the sous chef case gives Akira her lunch sandwiches. He flirts with her and draws 2 hearts with ketchup on her plate. Akira ignores his advances with a stoic face and walks to the back office to enjoy her lunch alone. As she sits there eating her sandwich, the manager, Mr. Kondo, walks in. He takes his seat by the window and starts working on the accounts. Meanwhile, Akira stares at his back. When he sneezes suddenly, making the most disgusting noises as he wipes his nose, she keeps staring at him. He feels her eyeing him and turns around to ask her if she needs anything. Akira gets flustered. She gets up and hands him a piece of paper, listing her preferred shifts for the next week. As he looks at them, she leans down and stares into his face unblinkingly. He cautiously looks at her and asks her to stop glaring at him in that fashion. He tries to laugh it off, but wonders if she hates him. Hesitantly, she asks him if he has the chat messenger app. When Kondo asks her about it, clueless as to what it is, she gets flustered all over again, and she rushes out. Inside the office, Kondo wonders what he did to make her glare at him. While outside the room, Akira leans against the wall, embarrassed at having been caught staring. Later that evening, after their shift, Akira and Yashizawa bid Kondo goodbye. As they walk outside in the rain, Yashizawa calls out to Akira and suggests they go home together, but Akira ignores him and walks away. Kondo watches them from the window and marvels at how young they are. He muses about how adolescence is a time to be carefree and happy. When she arrives home, her mother asks her to take a warm bath before having dinner, as she just came in from the rain. She goes to her room, peels off her socks, and looks at the long, ragged scar on her calf. The next day at school, after class, Akira is standing in the corridor when 2 of her friends from the track and field club come to meet her. The younger of the 2 shares that she is going to be running the 100-meter sprint, but cannot match Akira's time. She apologizes for bringing up her injury, but Akira dismisses it and congratulates her on it. The junior leaves. The captain of the track and field club, Akira's friend Haruka, stays back to talk with her. Once very close friends, they are now awkward around each other since Akira's injury. Akira promises to visit the track and field club soon. At the restaurant, Yui asks Akira if she likes someone. Yui confesses to liking both Case and Yashizawa. Akira asks her about the manager, and Yui gets disgusted as he is old, and he stinks. Just as she says this, Kondo walks in. He overhears Yui and looks at them in shock, before smiling sheepishly and walking away. Later, Akira takes her lunch sandwiches from Case and goes to the back office. She spots Kondo's discarded shirt on the chair and picks it up to smell it. Just then Kondo walks in. He wryly comments that he has very bad timing, especially on that particular day. In her flustered state, Akira yells at him that smell is relative, and according to her, it does not smell bad. Kondo looks at her in amusement just as Kubo walks in. He asks her if she thinks he stinks, and she readily agrees, much to his chagrin. Kubo, not realizing she has just humiliated him again, informs him about a customer forgetting their phone. They run out together, Kubo, Kondo, and Akira. They look for the customer and spot him riding away on his bicycle. Kondo dismisses the thought of giving chase, as he feels he could never catch up to him on foot, but Akira takes the phone and takes off running. She runs through the street like a gazelle while Kubo and Kondo watch in awe. Kubo runs back inside the restaurant and informs the others about Akira trying to catch up to the customer. Everyone feels it would be impossible, except Yashizawa, who shares with the others that she is very fast and was once on the track and field team. Case asks Yashizawa why she stopped, and Yashizawa shares about her injury from a year back. Akira catches up to the man and returns the phone, and Kondo applauds her. As she walks back, her leg starts hurting, and she starts limping. When she walks back to the restaurant, she collapses. Kondo panics and lifts her up to take her to the hospital. The doctor examines her, asking if she stressed her leg for some reason. Kondo realizes the run proved to be too strenuous for her. The doctor bandages her and asks her to be off her foot for a bit. Later at home, lying in bed, Akira recalls how Kondo picked her up. She blushes while thinking about him. The next morning, she goes out limping in on her crutches while her mom leaves for work. On her way, she spots Kondo in her area. She yells out to him. He runs over to meet her. He explains that he came over to her house to apologize to her parents, as he feels responsible for her injury. Akira informs him that he missed her mom as she just left for work. They go out to a cafe. Kondo apologizes to her for coming over without checking with her, and promises to return another time to meet her parents, as he wishes to apologize to them. Akira assures him that he does not need to. She shares that her parents are divorced. He apologizes again, apparently his favorite thing to do. She reassures him that she has good relations with her father too. He suddenly remembers, and finally asks about her foot. He looks at her and spots her red-painted nails, but mistakes the red color as being blood-clotted, and worries that the run clogged the blood in her toes. Akira laughs out loud at his misunderstanding. She explains to him that it's just a pedicure. She notices him staring at her, and when she inquires about it, he shares that she's never laughed like that before, and that she looks much happier here, maybe because they are in her hometown. He gets up to get her something to drink. While he is gone, she consciously checks her dress and hair. He brings her a cup of coffee, holds out his empty hand as she watches, and then flips it like doing a magic trick, and when he holds it out again, there's a cream pot in his hand. Feeling deja vu, he asks Akira if he has done this before. She looks at him, surprised. A quick flashback to some time ago, Akira is at the garden restaurant as a guest, and Kondo is doing the same trick. He looks at the cityscape outside and asks her why she works at the restaurant, which is so far away, when she stays in such a busy locality and could easily get a job nearby. Akira suddenly leans forward and blurts out, "I like you." Kondo is taken by surprise, and then laughs out in relief, much to Akira's surprise. He shares that as she always glares at him, he thought she hated him, but is relieved to know she does not. Akira realizes he took the statement at its face value, and not like the love confession she was trying to make. The next day at the school, Yashizawa puts the final touches on his flipbook of Akira running, as his friends look on while Akira is sleeping again, head down on her desk. She wakes up and asks Yashizawa about Kondo's behavior in recent days. Yashizawa shares that he looks more cheerful than usual. He goes into a diatribe, but Akira is not listening as she stares out the window at the girls' track team practicing in the field below. Later, she goes down to meet them. Her friend Haruka is overjoyed to see her, but she worries about the bandage on her leg. Akira dismisses her concern, playing it lightly. The other girls come running to meet her, excited to show off their skills. They tell her how they have missed her on the field, and that they wish to see her back. She urges them to continue the practice while she sits back to watch. After practice, she gets up to leave, and they rush back to her and ask about her part-time job at the restaurant. Haruka invites her to the post-practice lunch they are planning, when one of the other girls comes up with an idea to go to the garden restaurant, so Akira can join them there. She abruptly refuses. They get surprised to see her react so strongly. She pretends that it would be inconvenient for them, as it's very far away, and leaves. As she walks back in the rain, she reminisces about her last race. We go back into a flashback, where Akira runs a race and Haruka cheers her on, which further takes us back to when both were kids, and they would run on the beach. Akira telling Haruka how she loves running. Back to the last race, Akira runs the fastest and sets a record. The next day at practice, she suddenly gets a leg cramp and collapses. The doctor informs her she has torn her Achilles tendon, and he advises her to restart her training slowly while in rehab. He warns her not to overdo it, as it may reoccur, and then she would never be able to run again. We see a series of montages of her recovery, where she looks at the rain falling outside while sitting in a wheelchair, returning to school on crutches, and watching from the classroom window as her team practices below in the rain. Feeling depressed, skipping meals. One rainy day, on her way back from the hospital, she stops at the garden restaurant. As she sits there, staring out at the rain pelting on the glass window, Kondo comes to her with a warm cup of coffee. She refuses it, as she never ordered it, but he tells her it would get boring waiting for the rain to stop, so until it does, she can enjoy the coffee. He does the magic trick with cream, which surprises her. As he walks away, she smiles for the first time in months. From his place behind the counter, Kondo looks back at Akira, sitting in her booth staring out at the rain, and smiles when he sees that she finished her coffee, unaware that Akira is crying while staring out of the window. When the rain stops and the sun comes out, she gets up to leave. Kubo helps her by opening the door and warning her about the varying heights of the steps, and as she limps out on her crutches, Akira is comforted by the kindness of strangers. This explains why she started working at the restaurant. Back in the present, she is completely wet from the rain as she finally arrives at the restaurant. Kondo spots her from the backroom window and yells for her to get in fast, as she is getting wet, but she just stands there listlessly, so he runs out with an umbrella. He worriedly scolds her about being out in the rain. She looks at him, water dripping from her face, confesses her love to him, and runs away. Kondo is left staring after her. As he locks the restaurant and returns home that night, Kondo wonders about Akira, and worries about it too. His home is shabby, with books stacked everywhere. He smokes by the window, looking outside at the rainfall, contemplating his life. He switches on the TV to hear a news bulletin about a middle-aged man sexually harassing a 17-year-old, and switches it off, terrified. The next day, Akira is having lunch in the back office while Kondo works on the computer. Both pretend the confession never happened. But Kondo steals a few glances, which she notices and walks up to him. She reveals that her confession was real and demands that he give her an answer. She wants him to reciprocate his feelings for her. Kondo looks at her, terrified, and jumps away as if scalded when Yashizawa and Yui walk in, inviting Akira to go out with them after the shift. Kondo uses that as an escape and comments on how nice it is for young people to hang out together. But Akira refuses their invitation, claiming her leg still hurts. Later, Kondo drives her home, wanting to try and talk her out of it. He explains to her that he is almost her father's age, and it would be wrong for them to date. She gets annoyed and almost shouts in his face that she loves him, startling him so much that he swerves the car, almost banging into an oncoming truck. He stops the car and wonders aloud why she would love someone like him, someone essentially a loser in the world's opinion. She explains that one doesn't always need a reason to love someone. He tries to politely explain to her how he is a middle-aged man, and she would hate going out with someone like him, but she takes it as a sign of him asking her on a date, and once again gets in his face asking for an answer. He is too scared to say anything, and so reluctantly agrees. The next day before school, she meets Haruka. They go to school together on the bus, like the old times. Haruka asks her why she loves part-time work so much. Akira does not answer, fearful of being judged. Later, at the restaurant, Case finds out about her crush on the manager. She requests him to keep it a secret, but he asks her to go on a date with him, in return for keeping it a secret. She agrees. On the date with him, she goes dressed in her sweats, and is stoic throughout the whole date. Case teases her and questions her about her intentions, as he feels she is compensating for her loss as a runner with her newfound love for the manager. She gets annoyed and walks out on him. On the date with the manager, she dresses up with care, and is animated throughout the whole evening. Later, when they sit in the same cafe she and Case were at, Kondo tries to explain to her the impossibility of their situation. He talks about his son, hoping to dissuade her from her affection, but to no avail. He tries to end the date, but she keeps pursuing him. She invites him to the summer festival, but he refuses, claiming he plans to go with his son. When she tries to prolong the date, he refuses at first, but she insists, so they go to the library. There, he shares with her his love for books and how he dreamt of being an author, but did not make it. He shows her a book that his friend wrote. She asks him to recommend a book to her, but he instead shares that each person can find a book that they need or should read, based on their life and choices. He shares that there will be a book that she needs to read at the moment in her life, and she will have to be the one to find it. Later, he spots her looking at a photography book of track athletes. He gives her the book, while he buys his friend's book. At school, Haruka gives her a note that says their friendship goes beyond track and field club. So Akira invites her to the summer festival. They roam around the festival together, remembering their childhood days. When Akira spots Kondo there with his son, she runs over and speaks to him. Haruka notices the way Akira looks at Kondo, and how she smiles at him. She asks about it, and they get into an argument. Kondo calls up his friend, the book author, and they meet for dinner. They talk about the old times, and his friend asks him if he still writes. Kondo has no answer for him. Later, his friend reminds him that for each other, they will always be classmates, no matter how old they get. The next day, Akira is distracted throughout the day. Even at the restaurant, she cannot stop thinking about Haruka. Kondo notices this and asks her about it. Akira discusses with him, wondering if a friendship survives even when the situation changes. And time passes, and he tells her about how when he met his old friend, they went back to how it was in a second. He asks her to not give up on old friendships that easily. The next day, another student visits the restaurant. She recognizes Akira from her record-making race. She shares that she is a fan and would like to compete against her. But Akira ignores her comment. The girl, Kurata, meets Haruka the next day at their school's combined practice and asks her about Akira. Haruka explains the situation to her. At the practice, Kurata almost matches Akira's time, much to Haruka's surprise. She returns to the restaurant and shows off her running skills to Akira, also showing a similar scar on her leg, and reveals that she had the same injury. But when she saw Akira race, she felt inspired and wanted to beat her. She challenges her and leaves. Kondo hears their conversation, and later tries to talk to Akira about returning to the track. He tries to make her realize that she should think of things beyond the restaurant, also offering to reduce her shifts for the upcoming months. Akira gets upset and leaves, stating that there is nothing else she would rather do. Case overhears the conversation. Later that night, she hands over a bag full of her running gear to her mom to throw away. Meanwhile, Haruka spots Kondo shopping for running shoes with his son. She overhears him asking the store helper about the best running shoes. She approaches him and gives him a suggestion. Realizing she runs track, but without realizing her connection to Akira, he asks her if someone with a tendon injury can get back to running. Haruka understands that he is asking for Akira, and reassures him that it is possible after proper rehab and training. A few days later, Kondo falls sick, and Akira gets worried when she hears about it. The same day, Haruka visits her and informs her that Kurata has equaled her time in a race. Before leaving, she tells Akira that they are still waiting for her at the club. Case joins Akira when she is in the back room. She has been avoiding him since the date. He kindly asks her to think about Kondo and how precarious his situation is. He explains to her how Kondo is trying to get her back to the things she once loved, and how she may be putting him in a difficult position with her pursuit. Akira comes to a realization and thanks Case for helping her understand. Akira decides to visit Kondo's home. It is raining heavily that day, and so, unable to turn her away in the rain, he lets her in. Once inside, she confesses her feelings again, and tells him that she thinks he is amazing. He in turn explains to her that she is much more amazing than him, and that the feelings she has now are painful but precious. He kindly explains to her that she is young and wonderful, and destined for greatness, while he is already halfway through life. She feels she is not good enough. He explains that she is much better than him. Rather, being around her makes him feel good about himself. He thanks her for liking him, and making his pitiful life look better. Akira hugs him tearfully, and for a second, swayed by her crying, he hugs her back to comfort her. But he jumps back after a second, feeling awkward. Kondo's friend comes over to take care of him as his cold gets worse. He asks him to resume writing, as he knows Kondo is also as obsessed with it as he is. Kondo asks Akira to help train his son to run, as he is very slow. They meet at the beach, and while teaching him, Akira finds the joy she lost in running again. Kondo tells her that they do not need her at the restaurant anymore, as she needs to be somewhere else. Akira smiles tearfully, as she knows it's a goodbye. Akira returns home and asks her mom for her running gear. Luckily, her mother didn't throw it away. The next morning, Akira gets back to practice, while Kondo starts writing his novel. As days go by, Akira and Haruka start practicing together, and they are back to being best friends, while Kondo is also moving forward in life. One day, on his way back from a meeting, he spots a group of girls running by the road, and spots Akira amongst them. He stops, just as she too turns around to see him. Haruka also stops and smiles at Kondo, before resuming the run and taking the other girls along. He is extremely happy to see Akira running. He shares with her that he got promoted, and so is no longer just a restaurant manager, and she is happy for him. Suddenly she laughs and urges him to download the chat app, as now they are friends, and so they can chat with each other often. They both stare at each other, Akira with tears in her eyes and a smile on her face, and Kondo tenderly affectionate.